Hello and welcome to this MGO2 unofficial PC release tutorial. Today I'm going to show you a build that provides you more FPS and the settings to get the FPS. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to this link in the description. Once here, fill in a username which you'll use to log in the game. You do not have to fill in the display name, it is optional, but you can do so. An email and a password which you'll use to log in on the game, and then you can click submit. Once this is done, please download the MGO2 unofficial PC.RAR file in the description of the video. Then you're going to want to right click, press extract here. Now I've already done this, which provides me with this folder. Now let's click into it. So in this folder you'll be provided with Metal Gear Online the game, the emulator build provided, and you'll have the PS3 firmware. Now we're going to want to open the emulator and sort that out. If you have any updates, just ignore them because new updates aren't tested. You can test them, but you may want to keep the RAR file if in case you test as like a backup. So I'm going to say no. Okay, so now I've got things pre-configured, but I'm going to treat it as if I do not have things pre-configured. So the first thing you're going to want to do is click File, Install Firmware, and install the PS3 firmware by double clicking onto it, like so. Okay, I've now installed the PS3 firmware. Okay, now I've installed the PS3 firmware, sorry for lying. The next step is pressing File, Boot Game. You click this folder once that says Metal Gear Online, and you click Select Folder. Now, I'm going to skip this part of the video for viewer convenience. Once the game opens, just press the Stop button. Now you're going to want to right click the game and press Change Custom Configuration. Now the settings I provide might not be the best for you, and I'll try to explain it in as much detail as I can without making the video overcomplicated. So here I have disabled Enable Thread Scheduler. Personally this helps me, however it may help you. This one may cause audio stuttering. You may want to try disabling that if that happens. I'd keep most of the settings the same as I have here. If you experience crashes, one of the fixes might be to put this to Mega or Safe, but you will lose FPS most likely if you do this. Now my GPU settings. So for frame limit I've put 60. This can ruin performance, however I've found it's not impacted my performance that much, and it stops crashes as well. What else have we got? Oh, VSync can add latency, however it stops frame choppiness, and I've found that with the settings that I've currently got that give me very high FPS, my frames can be a bit choppy, so I turn VSync on. You may want to turn this off, just see what you prefer. This time I have multi-threaded RSX off. Apparently this can cause crashes. For me it doesn't make a difference if I have it turned on or off performance wise, so I'm just going to keep it off as it can cause crashes. Next is the audio settings. I've left this to the default. You can change the audio channels based on your sound configuration. My sound configuration is set to stereo. I/O, I'd have the same settings I have here. System, I would have the same settings I have here. Network, okay, so the difference between my last video is simply that this is put to RPCN. If you didn't see my last video, these settings will be in the description of this video, so you can copy and paste them here. Make sure this is connected. Okay, advanced. So this setting here can lose people FPS. I've activated it to ensure that less crashing is possible. You can deactivate this if you want more FPS and test if you crash. It might be different on your system. Sleep timer accuracy I have on all timers. I find this helps decrease crashes also. Maximum number of Spurs threads. I haven't noticed a difference between free and unlimited, but if you want to try and improve performance and see if it works for you, change to free. Now, Relax equal sync I have enabled. This helps me slightly, it may help you. Driver wake up delay 300, VBlank frequency 240. Clock scales, just don't change that, that's my recommendation, otherwise the game's going to run really strange. Now with driver wake up delay, if you have issues with crashes, what you want to do is you want to try and up it by 50, then apply save. You'd then open the game again with custom configuration. If you still get crashes, you'd up it by another 50 to 400. If that doesn't work, then I'd mess around with other settings. I'm going to put this back down to 300 as that seems to be working for me right now. Okay, now the emulator settings. I'd copy everything I have here. Here are my debug settings. Now the thing that increases my FPS and a lot of other users, as we found out in the PC community, is this setting here in the debug menu. Now what you want to do is you want to take it to the maximum number, which is in my case 14. Now what that's done for me is given me around 6 to 10 FPS increase in performance in training on BB. Training is a great way to test FPS, as it's like having real players in a game. So I'd try that and then just test in BB training and see how you go. Apply and save once done. Now there's one more thing you have to do. Well, actually there's two more things you have to do before booting the game. So the first thing you're going to want to do is check that the patch is installed. So you go to manage, game patches. Now you click this top arrow here, then the arrow that comes out of that arrow, and you want to click the Metal Gear Solid 4 patch, as you can see at the end of the description here. You click the checkbox if it's not already clicked. You should already have this clicked, but just in case, I'm letting you know. And you press apply and save. I've already done this, so I'm going to skip this step. Now the final setting is in regards to network again. So you're going to want to go to configuration, RPCN. Do not change the host. Put in a username. Set a password to whatever you like. And then you're going to want to click create account. You type in an email. You press OK. You're then going to want to check your email address. Once you check your email address, you should receive a token. You put it into this box here. You press save, X off, and now the game's ready to boot. Now there's one thing I've forgotten and should quickly mention, and it's in regards to this debug menu. Something I'd recommend you try and do is if you press Ctrl-Shift-Escape and you find that your CPU in this task manager is 100%, then I'd recommend going into your debug settings and turning on GPU texture scaling. The reason for this is that I think it will offload some of the CPU work onto your GPU. I'm not guaranteeing this will work, of course. It's just something that I found happens for me. So now let's go back to booting the game. I'm going to skip this step for viewer convenience. Okay, so now I'm taking us to training BB. If you get above 30 FPS, then that's a good indicator that it might perform well when you're in a proper game. So I'm just going to press the start button. Now bear in mind I am recording this at the same time, which greatly reduces FPS. So normally my FPS never goes below 30 on the screen, but as I'm recording this is not the case. Now if you find your controller only lets you go backwards at the start of a game, you're going to want to click pads and then X off, and you go back in the game, and now you can move forwards. so that's great. Now I must stress that my FPS is below 30 because I'm recording right now, which is saving data on my SSD. This would not normally be the case for me. It differs depending on your system, of course. So that pretty much concludes this FPS tutorial. I just wanted to show you the controller glitch really. So that pretty much concludes this tutorial. I hope it helped someone. If it helped, please like and subscribe. And you can also follow me on Twitch if you like. Thanks very much for visiting.